Okay, I have removed the main lever here. You can see it's pretty dirty. I am going to clean this up. The rough surface should not be greased, according to some advice I got from another YouTuber. I will have to clean this with isopropyl alcohol and a bit of WD-40. This little part here, that's a I don't really know what the correct English term for it is, but it can rotate, and you can see it's pretty dirty with a lot of old grease on it. It has become completely black. The cam wheel is also something I'm going to clean up. You see the grease is has run thin and it's just dirty and pretty messy. I don't think I have to remove the cam wheel. I can probably get in there with a cotton swab, with one of those ear cleaning thingies. On the other hand, if I can remove it, it may be easier to really thoroughly clean it. But then I will have to remove this little C-clip over here, and there's also a thing here with a spring, and that may be a bit dangerous to remove that, especially because springs and such can go airborne. Oh, the camera doesn't really focus, but that's where the spring is, so I'll see. Maybe I remove it, maybe I don't. First I'll see if this part is removable and that part over here is removable. If I can successfully remove those and easily reassemble them, then I can remove the cam wheel and give that a good clean. So I removed the grease from these channels here in the main cam wheel. This part is removed, so that needs to be re-greased. I removed grease from here. I removed a little bit from here, and I removed a little bit of grease at this point here, and at this point here where this metal part slides over it. So those parts must be re-greased. I removed this linkage over here. That was fairly easy. I can easily reassemble that. Still need to clean those parts, but whatever you do, do not touch this C-clip. Don't ever touch it, because that thing is evil. There's a spring underneath that, and I needed to get some help from someone else to put it back together. That's really difficult. That thing there is a son of a bitch. Don't touch that unless you really have to. You can pretty much clean those parts without having to disassemble this. I am expecting that this part is going to be easier. That doesn't look too difficult. As you can see already over here, I've already wasted 5 cotton swabs on just cleaning that cam wheel. So I'm going to need a very big supply of cotton swab thingies. So I have removed the rotating part that attaches here. This needs to be re-greased. I will remove the grease from this part, but I will not disassemble that. I'll just keep it in place and use the cotton swabs. This part that's here, that is this part, and I'll slightly reposition it. It sits about like this. There's a small copper spring around here, and it's not really visible, but if you remove this copper spring, there's a tiny little notch over here, a slight 45-degree notch, so that you can see how to position it. Anyway, it's supposed to sit like this, and I have drawn it here on the paper. a bit how this assembly looks like, and here's the 45-degree angle. So I will now commence on cleaning this surface, lubricating it, and doing the same there. Okay, the grease is removed from this area here. This has been cleaned a little bit, and I've cleaned this a little bit, so that also requires re-greasing. So now I can, I think, start on cleaning this thing. This should not be hard, just requires a little bit of elbow grease. So I have done the initial cleanup. As you can see, this is all nicely cleaned. I did it yesterday. Now I'm going to reapply the lubrication. First I thought maybe I have to disassemble this part, but then I would have to get underneath and remove a nut and these two screws, but I don't have the right screwdriver for that, and looking at it now, I don't think I really need to grease that, because then I would have to grease this part, and well, that would be rather difficult. I don't think I'm not confident enough in my own work yet to do this, so I'll leave that for another time when it really has to be done. So here's the grease. I cut the end of a cotton swab, so I can now apply the very jelly messy stuff and hopefully not get my hands too dirty. So I'll give it a go. So I have applied some new grease to the cam wheel. This control rod has been greased, and applied some grease over here and over here. As you can see, this goes very smoothly now. These parts now have fresh grease in them, and this is very royally lubricated. And now I have to reassemble this pivot point here, where the main control lever sits in, and that requires a lot of lubrication. So I have reinstalled this part. I have confirmed myself that it is in the neutral position before I put the C-clips on. If it is in this position, it is in the stop position. So when this little notch here goes into this slot, it's in the stop position, and when it's in this position, it's in the start position. So when I removed it, it was in the neutral position. So I also verified that by looking at the photos I made, that I have reinstalled it in the neutral position. Now I can reapply the C-clips, the very small one here and the other one here. And I don't know why there's a bit of lubrication on here though. Originally there was some, but I don't really see why. Anyway, I'll reinstall the C-clips. So the C-clips are back on. I have reinstalled this one and this one, and I have reinstalled this little bracket thingy that rotates. Very important is that you do not make the screw too tight, because this has to be able to move when it's in operation. So you must apply a royal amount of lubricant at its friction surface, and well, just remind yourself, don't make the screw too tight. If you feel resistance when it turns, then it's too tight, so it must be a little bit slack. At least I think it should be, because in normal operation this thing is supposed to be moving, and it's a metal to metal contact, so a royal amount of lubrication is recommended. I have reinstalled the main lever, greased the surfaces, and now it's time to flip the turntable over and see whether it works or not. That will be the moment of truth. Well, I've been playing around with it and it's still a fail. I can't get it right. I think the steuerpimple is too short and the main control lever drags up a lot of grease. Just check what happens when I turn it. See how much grease it is dragging? It's a lot. Something don't seem right. It's still, oh, it's such a complex thing. Let's see if I can get an angle of the steuerpimple. But it seems like nothing is happening there. It really doesn't do the business. And I'm still having problems in this area here. The dampening system, I don't know, is it too tight? It still drifts. I don't know, I still think the pimple is too short. I can't get that tiny little part right. I have no clue what I'm doing. I still need some help on this. If I can't fix it, then I'll have to look for a repair shop. Of course that will cost me money, but it will save me a lot of trouble doing it myself. Well, as a last effort that I'm going to try, I have this end of a pencil eraser. I just pulled it out here. It was sitting in there. I think the material could be right. I just need to cut a little bit off and drill a hole in it perhaps, or poke a hole in it. And the problem with this one was that it's a little bit tiny actually, and well, it's got a hole and it was all the way through, and maybe that was a problem. The original steuerpimple had a hole that was not all the way through. So I'm going to try this and just cut off, well, maybe 2 millimeters or so, and then poke a little hole in it and see whether that works. So I cut off a tiny little bit. Oh, I can't get it in focus. I think it's too bright here. Let me turn off the light. Let's see where it's a little bit darker. No, I don't think you can even see the hole, but I used a screwdriver and I poked a hole in there. So let's see if this will work. Well, what do you know? It fits nicely. That was really easy to reinstall actually. So I think we're going to give it another test run. Well, you've all seen my struggle on my effort to repair this turntable. It's been ridiculously difficult, and well, I have spent about €6 on just the grease alone. This pot of grease, it's 400 grams, and I only needed a tiny little bit of it, so I am going to throw in the towel. Maybe you can troubleshoot it for me, have some advice, maybe you have some ideas on how to fix some of the issues, but I am throwing in the towel. I consider getting a new one, a second one, similar model preferably. Of course that's going to cost me money, and I'm kind of reluctant to spend that because, well, this one was a freebie. I had got it from my granduncle, from which I had inherited it. So, and you know, a really nice one will cost about €300, and well, a repair will be about €100, and well, kind of reluctant. If I take it to a repair shop, they'll probably tell me that I'm an idiot, that I have attempted to repair it myself. So I don't know, maybe you'll see a follow-up video with a successful repair attempt, but that will probably take a long time, or well, this will be the end of it, and I'm going to keep it as a museum piece and well, get a replacement one. So it could be either of the two results. Anyway, I'm really sick and tired of the repair effort, and I have other videos to make as well. So that's it. Deco Designs signing out for now.